You can listen back to an Access Radio show that you love online. Dozens of locally made podcasts are free at accessradio.org.nz.
Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome back to the Blackhouse. I'm here today with my co-host Peter and our guy on Tech Deck, Sounds by Somewhere. I've also got a couple of other guests in the studio. We've got Modi, who's very awesome on the drums. He's been doing stuff at the Africa Day and around the place in El Barrio and whatnot. But we've got a real special guest for you all today. Welcome Ibrahim Omer, MP for Labour, trade unionist, living wage activist. Welcome to the show.
Kia ora, Jambo, Assalamu alaikum, Talafalava, greetings in all the languages that we could all possibly speak. Thank you for having me. Happy New Year, everyone, and it's good to be here.
Oh, thank you for coming in. Really appreciate it. We want to get into this really quickly because we've only got our first section only goes for about 10 minutes. So first up, Genesis story of Ibrahim.
Yeah, tell us
about you, where you come from, personal background, just basically introducing our listeners to who and what you do.
10 minutes for that, even 10 hours. I'll do my best. Ibrahim Omer, born and raised in Eritrea, left Eritrea at a very young age in 2003, spent 5 years in Sudan and refugee camps, but also working for UNHCR, which is United Nations High Commission for Refugees. After 5 years of living in Sudan, moved to New Zealand in 2008. Started my life. Beginning was a bit bumpy, like it wasn't smooth. It was tough, just like any other immigrant or refugee. And then 12 years later, member of parliament, but within 12 years, a lot of things happen. Work, study, you name it.
Yeah. What part of New Zealand did you start off? Because I started in Invercargill, and I like to say that's a shock for me in Invercargill.
That is a very,
What a jump from Zimbabwe to Invercargill.
Very Invercargill.
Yeah.
No, mine was I came as a quota refugee. I spent 6 weeks in Mangere, Auckland.
Yeah.
You don't really do. You just stay behind closed doors and study and orientations, and that's basically like you're trying to stand on your feet and getting to know New Zealand and its culture, its politics, like. If you don't speak English language, and it's a very useful 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Wellington.
Straight away, straight from Mangere, right? Yeah. And how does that sort of organisation work? Do you get to choose where you go in the country, or is it given to you?
No, you don't actually get to choose because. So the organizations that run this program, they have their own priorities like housing, and they put a lot of things in consideration when they kind of send people to different towns and cities. And at the time, a lot of people were staying in Auckland, and some of us Wellington, Christchurch, Palmy, probably few people to Hamilton. I was asked to stay in Auckland.
Right. Okay.
It's just luck, I suppose.
Yeah.
But then I said, my English teacher told me a lot of good stories about Wellington and Victoria University.
Like the wind?
He didn't talk about it. A lot of Eritreans tried to seduce me, so they said that Wellington is windy.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to put heavy stones in your pocket, otherwise
You'll blow away.
Yeah, they try to keep you in Auckland.
Nonetheless, so this guy he's a former refugee from Vietnam.
Yeah.
He had a master's degree in linguistics, and he was my teacher, and he told me a lot of good stories, and I just insisted. And they said, why do you want to go to Wellington? We don't have enough houses. I said, I want to go to Vic Uni, but we have universities everywhere. I'm like, no, I want to go to Vic Uni.
Yeah, Vic's
and
one of the best.
3 days of like debate, argument, like nagging, and finally they gave in, and they like, okay, go to Wellington.
Right. Okay, so I'm just going to ask you a little bit about being a trade unionist, because that's going to lead into your bit in the second section. But you've been working in the trade union. How did you get into that? I know a little bit about your story being at Vic, doing cleaning and stuff at Victoria University. So what happened there when you moved to into the union side of things?
You see, when you come from places like Eritrea, where people don't have any voice, any representations, you don't know anything about trade unionists and how these things work. And I didn't know anything about it. My first ever job was security. I left that because I got attacked, and then I ended up getting a job in one of the hostels in Wellington Central. Right. And the treatment was really bad. It's not just the owner, but even the co-workers as well. They can be mean and racist, and because of that, I had enough and resigned. And so part-time at the time, I was doing Vic Uni, so I was doing only 60 hours a week. And then at Vic Uni, this organizer came from Service and Food Workers Union, and we had quite a few members. I wasn't a member. So a friend of mine who didn't even speak English at the time told me, hey, there is this guy who always comes around. He helps us, and you better meet him because you'll be good. Your English is good. I'm like, I wasn't really interested. And finally, I ended up meeting the guy. He invited me to the meeting, and I was asking a lot of questions. And he's like, okay, I think you should join the union and you should be a delegate. And I didn't know what he meant by that. Yeah. But finally, after 2-3 weeks, I ended up signing up to be a member. And then another 2-3 weeks, I became a delegate, and I was invited to the office for training. That's how it started, and it just, I keep getting involved in volunteering, and
because I grew up when unions were strong here, and so I've been on strikes and stuff like that. What's your feeling at the moment about the union movement, especially with regards to the African community? Are we getting involved in it? Are we more? What do you think?
Yeah. So the problem here in New Zealand is the employment law is very complex. And it's really not everyone can understand it. And a lot of us Africans who come as migrants and refugees, we don't know our rights. Let's be frank about that. And the employers often tend to take advantage of that. They mistreat people, and I was subject to really, really bad treatment by my own employers, and I even every time I call sick, for instance, I was being told to come, even though genuinely and seriously sick. So I had to go because I just wanted to keep my job. I had to go and work while I was sick. This is working 12 hours. Very physical work, and people don't know, and the people are not involved, sadly. Ask every African on the street, and how many of them are part of the trade union movement, and it's probably nearly zero.
Because I was quite impressed that you were are you still a union delegate while you're an MP, or you can't do both?
I am a member, but you can't be a member of parliament and delegate.
Right. Okay.
Sadly.
Yeah, because during the 80s, it was mainly migrant workers that were leading the the union movement in New Zealand and mainly Pacific Islanders actually, but the things that happened during the 90s with the change of the laws and stuff and zero-hour contracts really demolished scab workers and whatnot, really demolished and demonised the union movement. So I'm sort of seeing a resurgence of it.
Just to make a comment on that law change and also and that was designed to break down, to kill the union movement. The national government at the time under Jim Bolgen, who now regretted that he did that, is that he thought that the union movement was dead, but he didn't finish it. And luckily they stayed alive, and now we're still struggling, to be alive, but at least we are around. So the trade union movement is very important. Now in our caucus, inside the Labour Party, we've got quite a few MPs who come from the union background, and for the first time we have a union caucus.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
That's very exciting.
Because I think my own involvement with any union, like being a member of the PSA and things like that, that's only the information that I would get given whenever you start a new job. They're like, do you want to advocate for yourself or do you want to be part of a union? And, especially being from Zimbabwe and, the different issues that we've had around public resources and there's mismanagement of government and stuff. I was like, I need all the backup I can get because we don't trust people like that.
But a lot of people think that I can stand up for myself. I can speak good English. I know the law. But the reality is it's way more complex.
Very, very complex. Hey, we're going to go to our first song now. It's Mina Doe with Delusion. Mina Doe is of Somali, Indonesian and Australian background. She's an R&B neo-soul artist based out of Sydney, Australia. And this is her song, Delusion.
Wouldn't wish it on you, couldn't put it on you. Yeah, this feeling isn't slipping. Wouldn't wish it on you. I wish that you could see the side that don't involve your pride. It's cutting, but I'm fine. I wish that you could see the plan and won't without the man. I'm trusting it's alright, but when the better you come knocking, you'll remember how to drop in and lock into trust. I swear, when you're ready to go jumping, catch me dipping in the ocean of more than enough. I wouldn't wish it on you, couldn't put it on you. Yeah, this feeling isn't slipping. Wouldn't wish it on you. Wouldn't wish it on you, couldn't put it on you. Yeah, this feeling isn't slipping. Wouldn't wish it on you. What I do wish might be crazy, but truth and delusion be my babies. Untamed out here and it's amazing. Found the center and the flaming sword. I'm caught in between, but I'm blazing the trail for your faces. I've run for 1,000,000 miles while I'm tracing the steps you ignore. Wouldn't wanna wish it on your baby. This kind of thinking may just make you crazy. But once it is on your son, now that you know, couldn't really put it on your baby. I've been thinking all types of crazy, but now that it's on, now that I know, I wouldn't wish it on you, couldn't put it on you. Yeah, this feeling isn't slipping. Wouldn't wish it on you, wouldn't wish it on you, couldn't put it on you. Yeah, this feeling isn't slipping. Wouldn't wish it on you.
Maybe I am delusional. Maybe you should be too. I don't know. I mean, surely we have to have a little bit of delusion. to keep our imaginations running and alive, to break out of the mundane, and yeah, to believe that the impossible.
Well, welcome back, everyone. That was Maina Doe with Delusions, so shout out to her. So just coming back, we have our awesome guest, our one guest for 2021. What a great start with Ibrahim Omer. So, it's great that you could join us and make time. So we were moving on from our conversation around the unions, and, it's a great thing to be involved in, so don't be scared. It creates great opportunities and kind of empowers you as well.
Join the union. Join the union.
Yeah, so,
Definitely.
Yeah, exactly. So just going in terms of, you're transitioning now to be a member of parliament and illicit MP. What things are you kind of wanting to bring to light on behalf of your constituency? Like, what are they wanting from you? Tell us a little bit more about that.
When I first decided to run on the list for the Labour Party, there are two things always that I wanted to do, and always close to my heart, and that is advocating for low-paid workers.
Yeah.
And through that's the reason why I have been active on trade union movement, also the living wage movement as well. But also the issues of foreign refugees here in New Zealand, and there's a lot of issues.
Yeah.
So there's two areas: low paid workers. To me, my belief and the belief of my colleagues as well, and luckily the Labour Party is very big on this as well, that no one should be on the minimum wage.
Yeah.
It's really hard to survive a minimum wage these days with the cost of life going up every day, and housing costs going up. It's just not sustainable. And this is the area that always I said that I'm gonna be active on, but also advocacy for former refugees around. For instance, we have a lot of issues on with family reunifications. If you are a young woman, get married from Africa or somewhere else, want to bring your husband, and it's tough. The process is very complex, and it's just also luckily the Labour government now recognized this, and last year we actually increased the quota for family reunification from 300 to 600, and also we increased the budget for it to up to $21 million.
Wow.
So that is a significant increase. It's not going to be effective until next July, but that's a good start. It's not enough, and this is the area that where I want to work with the minister and other colleagues as well to bring some change, because at the moment thousands of emails that I get, the vast majority of those emails are people expressing concerns about about immigration. And then obviously racism is a big issue for us. I think March 15 highlighted the issue that we have here, and now and then only last week the Iraqi family who sadly lost someone, their brother, and on March 15 they were told to leave the country by some stupid racist woman, and no one should be told to go back to where you come from, because we all are New Zealanders, and we call this family home, and we love this family. And after part of the Royal Commission into the inquiry of Royal Commission into the Christchurch attacks have been made public last month. And this is part of the recommendations is that the fighting racism is going to be.
No, I think because I did have a look into it myself, reading a little bit more into that commission, because it feels like quite a big issue, obviously. And I think with an inquest going into it, it actually gives light to the fact that it is an issue. And it was really interesting to see that a lot of people have become awakened in New Zealand about how this disproportionately racism affects, like people from refugee background, people from, immigrants from different parts, migrants from different parts of the world.
And the Pacific and Maori.
Pacific and Maori. Yeah, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't. We stand on the shoulders of Māori and Pacifica contribution in New Zealand as well. But yeah, so it's interesting that such tragedy has pushed at least some kind of motion that government is starting to realize that we need to actually be involved.
Address that issue of New Zealand perceiving itself to not be racist, when in fact the subtle racism can be quite extreme, and
there is going to be a social office that's going to coordinate the social cohesion in this country.
Social
and also we've just decided after the report, we have decided that the Office of Ethnic Communities, and instead of being just an office now, it's going to be a ministry. I think that's a significant. So that's a good way to kind of promote the social cohesion.
And it's not just the interpersonal racism; it's the structural stuff in government departments and stuff, like organisations and industries like employment and housing. Like we've been looking for housing for individuals for a bit, and it's like you can see like what's going on out there. I've actually lodged a complaint.
I think you just touched a really good point earlier, that like the structural racism. That's the worst, and it's deeply entrenched in the society, in this country's system, and for instance, unemployment among former refugees and migrants is quite high, and this is not just sadly just a private sector, also does exist in public sector as well, so that should not be acceptable. And this is something that we at the member of parliament, the member of the government that's ruling today is something that I want to contribute on.
I know the Renters Union are going to be organising some action next year, and I'm involved with that. They're hoping something to be happening by the end of next year, but I hope keep an eye out for that.
In the blogs.
Sadly, the housing crisis is kind of getting worse, even though this probably is this. We as a government is doing everything we can to kind of alleviate the pressure on the housing market. There is going to be a lot of thousands of houses are being built now, and by 2024 there is going to be 8,000 houses. This is just social houses, and there is a lot of effort underway. But we are probably going to need like a comprehensive response to this crisis. Otherwise, just getting out of hand. I know that as a government we are committed to resolve this crisis.
Housing is a human right, people.
And just in terms,
not a privilege.
Because like what it seems like for every question we have, like we've got issues around racism, or like issues around immigration laws and things like that, and we're talking about unions having to advocate for employment laws, because you said that you became a listed member, like because we obviously there's a process through which people can say, hey, this is what we want from our government, this is what the policies that would like to see have something done, and people are always messaging you about what's important to them. Can you tell a little bit about what the process is like, from someone emailing you being like, hey, we've got issues in the immigration department, that reunification is an issue, to then kind of being considered? I know it's a big process, but considered to be like, hey, we should probably address this. What's that like?
So people when they email me with their personal issues, and that they want the help, they want intervention from a member of parliament, either through writing a letter or whatever way. They just need help. They just want their personal issue to be resolved. And that's something the members of parliament always do. They support people like writing a letter, hey, Leah is she had this issue, and can you please look into it. But to me, yes, we're going to do that. And the reason why I'm in parliament, and others as well, my colleagues, is just support people. But to me, I think also like we need to look into the issue. We need to look into the bigger picture and advocate for a bigger law change. Introducing, for example, that could be done either just the minister and the government kind of introducing change, and or also a specific member of parliament introducing this law as a bill, and then it goes through the select committee and then and go back to the house. And we vote on it. So there is so many ways of making changes. That is the exciting part of being in parliament. Basically, you have got access to ministers as well, but you also have, if you are a member of parliament, you have a privilege of introducing a bill and can affect change of the law as well.
Yeah, because I think we mentioned that for a lot of people maybe in the African community or wider, migrants or refugee, depending wherever you come from, they probably migrated due to like unstable or underachieving government institutions. And so for us, it's good to know that there's a clear, transparent system that we know you can actually effectively make change, advocating not only from an individual perspective with your personal issue and you go to your local MP, but also there's a system that we can clearly see that we can be part of as well. And that sounds very exciting.
As the privilege of living in his own and our democracy is you can only forget about Africa, but you look at America and how things are.
We're praying for you from afar.
It just makes you think that we are living in heaven.
Honestly, it's amazing. No, it's great. It's great that people now have that insight. We love it. So, right, well, another music break for us here. We've got Be Wise with Won't Stop featuring 1-4. Be Wise is a veteran in the Australian hip-hop scene. He's of Nigerian-Australian heritage, is residing in Sydney with a career spanning over a decade. He keeps reinventing his sound each time to impress his new listeners and also progress his own sound in the process. The latest track now featuring with the notorious 1-4. You've had a big year in 2020 with the debut of their EP. They linked forces to start 2021, that's right, in their own way with their song Won't Stop, produced by I Am Solo. Of course, shout out a friend of the show, awesome. Of Wellington. He's from Wellington as well, Tanzanian, Tongan heritage, and Smokey got beats. So that's it. Be Wise, Won't Stop, featuring.
So we've got quite a few celebrities.
Yeah, we've got. We're famous in here.
Wanted to the cream of the crop. Started at the bottom, had to take it to the top. Yeah, it's a long summer, cause you know we been hot. Look, I ain't got nothing to lose. $100, thought you knew that. Never less of how you try to say I made a comeback. Keep your distance from me, I don't need another contact. But tonight I'm trying to see a little bitch just like a Buddha. I'll be high in the VI with my shades while I'm inside. You can see us. These boys wanna be us, try to see us, but never let them defeat us. Like it between us, what you saying with it? My team's strong and we stay committed. Born with a swagger, so I might as well be buried with it. I'm up next, right? So I live my best life. Wanting I'ma get it. I don't need to take a test drive. Young boy, I came up, never gon' drop. From never being wanted to the cream of the crop. Started at the bottom, had to take it to the top. Yeah, it's a long summer, cause you know we been hot. Even if they talk crazy, no, we won't stop. Yeah, you don't believe it, but we won't stop. We up on Wednesday, we won't stop. Never gon' freeze, won't stop.
If these bitches wanna party, bring him around town. Let me call up the plug to get us another pound. When he's back on the block, pull handies up on the rock. If they're cutting the wave, then tell them they're gon' drown. They'll be still in our dress code, throwing up gang signs. But when the clock's out, tell them it's home time. I'm gon' be drying these pussy boys like a clothesline. That goes for anybody out there trying to take mine. I just wanna party, fuck all the violence. But if you're gonna test me, I'ma leave you silent. I just spent 10 racks all on my designers. Now my glam is flexing, while I'm a flyer.
Young boy, I came up, never gon' drop. From never being wanted to the cream of the crop. Started at the bottom, had to take it to the top. Yeah, it's a long summer, cause you know we been hot. Even if they talk crazy, no, we won't stop. Yeah, you don't believe it, but we won't stop. We up on Wednesday, we won't stop. Never gon' freeze, won't stop.
They see me wearing Moncler, tell them don't stay. I pay 6 for these jeans, man, it's kinda unfair. Australian goon, attracted to one brand. To Canadian goose to cover the sun glare. Now she don't wanna see me with my head down.
Pull up to the party, throw a chair round. Someone's getting laid out, tell me what you're staring at. I've been working too hard to even care now. If I pulled up with a 4, would you hide it for me? Try and sneak it through the door, I ain't lacking in this war. But one phone call, I'ma have it sorted. You can catch me in the corners, better hide your daughters. No love for an informant, I won't support it. Gotta stick to the code, that's the most important. Probably see me overseas like I was deported. Cause I know they see me boarding like my name was Jordan. Free the game.
I came up, never gon' drop. From never being wanted to the cream of the crop. Started at the bottom, had to take it to the top. Yeah, it's a long long summer cause you know we been high. Even if they talk crazy, no, we won't stop. Yeah, you don't believe it, but we won't stop. We up on Wednesday, we won't stop. Never gon' freeze, won't stop.
All right, we're back with the Blackhouse on 106.1 FM, and we're just going to continue that conversation. So I was really getting into that. I'm going to flip it back a little bit.
Yeah.
Back to the union stuff. Now, you've told us that you're a delegate and an organiser, and your journey from union worker to thing. I want to talk a little bit more about the living wage stuff. Like, what was your role in the living wage movement, and how are you guys connecting the union movement and the living wage movement together? Like,
that's a very good question. And so the living wage movement is formed of the three main streams. That is phase groups like churches mainly, and the unions, and then the communities.
Yeah.
So my role was I probably could take all the three boxes. I come from a faith background. I'm a Muslim. I'm a trade unionist, and I'm also a member of the community as well. So at the beginning, I was just patient activist member, and the reason why is because to me, when I start working on minimum like cleaning and housekeeping, it only meant to be for 6 months.
Yeah.
Save some money and go to uni. Minimum wage at the time, I think it was $11, $12, and then it only increased under national like by 30, 50 cents. It took me 4.5 years to kind of like have enough and go to uni.
Whoa.
And to me, like
that's a whole degree.
Yeah. Exactly. It's even more. 4 years of my time was just gone scrubbing the floors. Like, cleaning job I think it's a good job. It's a very it's an important job that should be dignified, but I wanted to be more than that. I want to do more than that. And to me, it was quite clear that low wages are limiting people's opportunity, people's ambitions to achieve things. And that's why I'm like, if this did to me, and I can't imagine, I can imagine what could do to others as well. So that's why even after my situation changed, I got a good job, good salary, I decided to remain involved and be active for our communities. So my role was first active member, activist, and then I became a local member of the local board here in Wellington, and then a member of the national board.
Okay.
I retired from both boards now.
Right. Oh, okay. You can't do. Is that a conflict of interest? Or?
Yeah, but conflict of interest, and also busy. Being a member of MP is like it's 7 days job. It's a tough job. So you can't really do anything else.
So the other thing I was thinking that's along those lines as well is, especially with regards to women, there's a lot of single mothers in our community that are relying on welfare payments and stuff like that, and they had back in the 90s an amount that you could earn on top of your single mother's pension. If you don't have partners or husband or whatever to raise your kids, that amount is still the same. Like, it's still $80.
Is that working for family?
I don't know how the working for family works in with it, but just working, if you wanted to get a casual job or something like that, or a part-time job, you can only earn $80. But what you could buy with $80 back in 1991 is not what you can buy with $80 in 2021. Is the living wage movement and the union movement actually also looking at what's happening with welfare payments and those that are reliant, and stuff like that?
There are other organizations that are active with that. For instance, I think the what do you call there is an organization, I think it's mainly based in Auckland, something action group.
Okay, Working Action. Poverty.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of them.
Working Poverty Action Group.
Poverty Action
Yeah,
Group.
Poverty Action.
Group,
That's one. I think those organizations kind of clearly, I think, advocate around the welfare issue.
Yeah.
The living wage and the trade union movement is solely for people who work, people who earn wages.
Right.
So the argument is that the living wage is not is the wage that someone can live on, live dignified life, be active in the community. If you're gonna work 80, 90 hours, you won't be able to take your kids to the garden. You won't be able to go to your kids' school activities or attend their soccer game. You know, you just can't do all you do. You just work, go home. You know, this sometimes can be a reason for breakdown of marriages and relationships and a relationship between parents and kids. And a lot of kids I know personally, because their parents, both parents work full time more, and they hardly see them. They get in trouble. They hang out with the wrong crowd, and because of that, it's the way that's designed for someone to live on a dignified life, be active in the community. So that's why it's solely for people who are working and getting paid.
Yeah, okay. All right, because because that is a gap. You know, I have had a little experience with, you know, employment support and that kind of thing, and it's because a lot of times people would always need to go to the government to ask to support them, whether or not if your rent goes by real quickly and the wage that goes up quickly, the wage that you're currently getting doesn't meet the cost of living that you have going on, and you're always going to have to go to the government and ask for assistance, and so that creates a big gap as well financially. So whereas if people were already in employment and they were paid enough so that they have, you know, good quality of life, then you don't have to rely.
The thing is, under 9 years of national government, the minimum wage was only going up by 50 cents, 40, 50 cents.
Which is almost insulting, really, isn't it?
It is insulting. And under Labour, we said that by 2021, the minimum wage is going to be $20. And on 2017, when we took over, I think it was 16 something. So last year, the minimum wage went up by $1.20.
Yeah,
that is like a record high in New Zealand history. That for minimum wage to go up by that much.
That's amazing.
So, and this is on top of so the government now has committed every worker, be security guard or cleaner, who works in a core government sector, is going to be on living wage very soon.
It used to be a little joke in one of my offices I worked in Lambton Quay back in the day, when the supervisors got when somebody from the floor got a supervising job and they got an extra $1, we'd say, hey, when they started getting bossy, we'd say, hey, we'll give you $2 if you come back to the other side.
Oh my gosh, what a leap that! Oh my,
that's well,
you know,
sometimes it's for us as a government, we are committed to make people's life easy. There is a clear commitment. Jacinda is really focused. After the election, we've got the biggest results in the history of since 1950 or 1930s.
And was it Whitlam government? Something like that. Yeah, Savage maybe. I don't know.
Max Savage. So it's a huge privilege. It's something that we don't take for granted, and we've got a clear majority. We can make things happen, and it's gonna be a delivery of next 3 years will be a years of delivery. So it's a huge privilege for us to be able to be given opportunity to govern alone. Since the MMP, this never happened at all. We are really focused, and we're going to deliver in the next 3 years.
Yeah, because, like when we first came back from Australia, I was really shocked at the cost of living in Wellington, and it was higher than Sydney. That's just in town, like food, petrol, everything. Yeah. I mean, we're paying double what we paid in petrol, and it was normal to drive an hour to get to your job in Sydney and get back.
And this is not to mention now COVID-19 has made things worse.
It's
also don't forget that COVID-19 is going to change some priorities for us.
Yeah.
Because now the focus is going to be solely recovery from this pandemic.
Because I'm interested in seeing how, obviously, with COVID, we forget here we were in our little bubble, emphasis the pun there, but like the fact that we do have COVID going on, and a lot of people are facing unemployment. For the first time, there might not be a lot of businesses now who can, take on people, to, even if they were going to be a living wage employer, if the business is under, they can't pay as much, to workers as well. So I wonder what that tension is going to be like, trying to recover economically, but also still wanting to advocate.
Given the world is in mess, I think our economy is doing really, really well.
Yeah,
it's bounced back, and the projection is that I think our unemployment is meant to be worse than it is now.
Yeah, way
worse. So our economy is doing well, and the domestic tourism is kind of like flourishing.
Yeah.
I think I was talking to a friend who said that all over the country, all the accommodations like hotels, everything is booked now. So these are thousands of Kiwis who used to go overseas and spending the money here. Now they're spending it here. But not only that, because of the way that the government has responded, and our approach from day one was health-based approach. And we have listened to the professionals
about health,
to the science. And because of that, now we have saved the economy and we have saved lives. And the country's leaders all over the world, some of the most sophisticated Western rich countries, they said that no, we don't want to mess up with our economy. Now they didn't save the economy. The economy is mess, and they have lost hundreds of thousands of their citizens as well. So
and riots in the streets,
and riots in the streets.
That stuff in the States was what was going on.
It just my heart breaks for them, because America, we always, when back in the days, I remember when I was young, when something really bad happened anywhere in the world used to look up to America. What's America gonna say? Because we always wait for their leadership, and they used to do the right thing, and even though they don't always give right. But now they just became a laughing stock. And now who wants to listen to America? They can't even protect their own democratic institutions.
And all their people.
For 4 years, and the Americans has elected, been attacking their democracy, their very own democratic institutions that made America always great. And now, it's just a mess. It's really sad, and I hope that they bounce back from this quickly.
And obviously for New Zealand, it makes a contrast of like how lucky we have it here, and like for you really represent a new, I think, way of diversifying our parliament, and also so that different experiences also become counted, because I think a lot of times depending on whatever background you come from, for us migrants and refugees, you don't always think that you can be, part of the process, part of society in a certain way. And I think your story represents opportunities are out there and are available for anybody to try to make New Zealand great in their own way, and also bring your experiences along with you in order to do that. So what would you say to people who are from, different, the migrant community, refugee community, about, getting more involved in the political process, whatever process if it's your union, whatever it is, how do we still bring who we are in the process of wanting to still, make our part into whatever structure New Zealand has?
During the campaign, I've traveled the whole country talking to our people, our communities, and a lot of people are blown away. Like, how did you make it that high? Like, how can you do this? Like, they think it's something that we can, that's something that we can do. It's actually wrong. I know why they feel the way they do though. But in saying that, I think the New Zealand politics is one of the most accessible in the world. Not just the Labour Party is probably because of the party's values
Yeah.
and the people that leading the party, the people that are involved. It's always been open to our communities more than any other political party, I should say. But even other political parties, people can join and people can contribute. And after the election, I have been talking to a lot of young people who said that they've been inspired by my own story, and they wanted to be politicians one day, and that really warms my heart. And to me, being a politician, I wasn't a career politician. I was an activist, trade unionist, and community leader, but I ended up being a politician now. So now what I wanted to see is I wanted to see young refugees, young migrants kind of like dream that this country is their country. That as much as, like if they wanted to be politicians, they can be politicians. They can be anything they want in this country. Opportunities are out there. Yes, there is going to be always issues. There's going to be obstacles, but they can do anything they want. And I really, really wanted to go around spreading this message. But not only that, but I'm also willing to, like, young people who have aspirations to be politicians, they can always get in touch with me. I'm happy to mentor. I'm happy to advise. I'm happy to be a big brother. So
you hear that?
You heard that here first on the Blackhouse.
So there you go. Put in your applications. So we've got a song break coming up again. So is it Black City?
Black City, yep.
Yeah, with Sosa. Black City is a group consisting of mainly New Zealand-based African and Afro-Kiwi musicians. The members include Jess B, Blaze, The Empire, Momuse, Reza Biza, and Abdul K. This is their banger of a track, Sosa.
Always end up in the same club with the same girl, tripping on the same stuff, complain about how I'm still the same old me, but you would have been mad if I changed up. I always end up in the same club with the same girl, tripping on the same stuff, complain about how I'm still the same old me, but you would have been mad if I changed up.
Me and my crew dressed quite impeccable, suit bespoke looking quite incredible, girl caught a vibe like she tried an edible, girl calm down, you're acting like an animal. I've been OT with the whole team, couple broskies, hen dog and a OZ. You don't know them, know us, you don't know me. Keep it low key, oh you gon' see.
I just let my old bitch for an old bitch, put her in the back and she rolled it like she stole it. Tell me she a hopeless romantic, and then she say I do it better than the old man did. And then it's back to the function, back to the bullshit. Really she be living with my back to the bullshit. I know every girl here, man, I wonder if they notice. I'm looking in the mirror, all I really wanna know is how I always end up in the same club with the same girl, tripping on the same stuff, complain about how I'm still the same old me, but you would have been mad if I changed up. How I always end up in the same club with the same girl, tripping on the same stuff, complain about how I'm still the same old me, but you would have been mad if I changed up.
Hey baby, those are nice. What's the price for them? Fuck it, we can get married and throw the rice on them. Hey, life is a gamble, throw the dice on them. I'm tryna be the greatest Jerry Rice on them. Fuck Twitter, I'm in the basement, big ticker with my niggas, tryna cook up 6 figures. They claim they do dirt, but got no diggers. They claiming they eating, but got no dinners. Shake it like you caught the Holy Ghost. Shake it and throw it back till I'm holding close. It's always the ones that I know the boast who talk the most. They see me close and claim it's only jokes. Fuck that, nigga, get it from the source. With your table man is young and I'm the nigga with the sauce. And the bar taking shots back and forth like we were playing horse. And shorty looking like dessert in the main course.
I always end up in the same club with the same girl, tripping on the same stuff, complain about how I'm still the same old me, but you would have been mad if I changed up. I always end up in the same club with the same girl, tripping on the same stuff, complain about how I'm still the same old me, but you would have been mad if I changed up.
These men thinking that they know me. Maybe cause I'm cute, tall like Naomi. But there's 2 things in life that have certainty. Just death and just be don't come for free. I know my worth and I know how the game go. And if I fuck with you, you all know cause I say so. Same bro, sister, same team with the same code. Up in this bitch chasing things that I pray for. And that's real.
I always end up in the same club with the same girl, tripping on the same stuff, complain about how I'm still the same on me, but you would have been mad if I changed up.
And we're back with the Blackhouse on 106.1 FM. I'm just going to do a couple of shout-outs now before we get back to our guest, okay? So tomorrow is a big day for Wellington. We've got a meeting of the African communities from 2 p.m. Starts at 2 p.m. and it's the second meetup, people, 39 Webb Street, Mount Cook. There's going to be catering. If you're going, please go to the event page. You'll find it on the Blackhouse. If you don't know where to find it, on Facebook. Go to the Blackhouse and tick that you're going, because we need to know how many people are going so we can have enough seats for you all and have food. Enough. Also today, I'm going to say happy birthday, because today is Sounds by Somewhere's birthday. He's quarter of a century. Cha-ching! And I made it. I did the mum thing. He's still alive. Oh! Happy birthday. And I also want to give a big shout out to Diva Mahal and the amazing Diva Mahal, our Grammy nominee person. Did you know we had one of them in Wellington?
She is. I'm a big fan.
Yeah. And also the Queen of Witch Hop is Stair. It's their happy birthdays today too. So happy birthday to you girls.
All these Capricorns.
All these Capricorns. I'm surrounded. I'm getting ganged up at my house. I got two in the house. A brother who started picking on me from England as well. I'm just like bang, bang, bang. You know.
We love it. Doing great things.
I'm so bad in music. I feel like
we need to make you a playlist. We need to make you.
So okay, we'll get back to Ibrahim. You had a question, Modi. Did you want to put it to Ibrahim now about what your question was, or?
I think just anyone can ask it, but mainly was like to talk about domestic violence, about the family, about in our community, and migrants, and plus the refugees, because we got so much trouble around in with our different cultures when we move to New Zealand to try to make life, and there's always this thing that happen about the real system of the real people who've been caught on that domestic violence, and there's a people, because they know there's a law in New Zealand and they're using that to try to manipulate
the justice system. About how, I guess, you're saying that within the justice system of New Zealand, and how it is for people navigating that from our community, different issues.
Because it's kind of like really tough,
I think as a community we have I know what you mean, and I think first we need to underline that the domestic violence whatsoever is not okay.
It is not okay.
Should be rejected. It should be dealt with. As a community, I think we have a lot of work to do, because I know a lot of cases, and as the chair of the Changemakers organization, we used to get a lot of cases. It's predominantly domestic violence against women in our community. This is and this is not okay. And
how are we going?
I know that because of where we come from, the interpretation of domestic violence is probably different. And the Compton is on. We've got a clear law against violence against women, and violence against
domestic is anybody.
Against anyone. And this is I think we should make this clear, and also. Not just talking, but I think we should take some steps educating ourselves around these issues. And in terms of some people taking advantage of the law, first, I'm going to go back to the point that we need to be educating our young men to make sure that they are steering clear from any trouble. I know that when things go wrong, the justice system always going to be. I think we have seen enough that enough have been told about the justice system of New Zealand. Very racist, very historically it's been racist against Maoris. If it's a was and there is against Maoris in Pacifica, I don't expect that it will treat us as refugees and fairly as well. So sadly, there are cases that there are legitimate cases of abuse, but there would be exploitation as well. All over the world, we have seen some people taking advantage of the existing law and putting people behind the bars and false accusation. This doesn't take away from the real victims as well. So we really have to, at the end of the day, it comes down to education. We need to educate ourselves. We have to make sure that our young men are also also staying out of troubles.
And understanding too what's what's the
It's really interesting the point that you made about the men like mentoring young men. In New Zealand we have this concept of whāngai. And for a lot of us that are here without communities or have come not through the refugee process but maybe through another migrant process, because there's lots of different pathways to come to New Zealand, we don't have our extended families around us, and so we piecemeal our families together through friends and stuff. That's the only way you can create family. Like I've created a family with the people that I've got in my house. So, I'm interested in knowing, and I would really like to see more older men actually mentoring younger men outside of the clubs and outside of the drinking and outside of those areas. Like the guys that are actually really, because like there's a lot of that sort of mentoring and grooming that's not positive. It's negative, and it's sort of like that's how our young men that are coming up and being raised by women are actually going out there. And
we need to use every platform that we have. Tomorrow's platforms are, but for instance, I think teaching our young men mainly, but for instance, consent. Consent. And the concept of consent for many young people that come from different backgrounds is quite different from the concept here in New Zealand.
Right.
And it's we've got all, like with no exception, we've got responsibilities to get out of our way and educating our young men.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this because I've worked as a professional interpreter for a while here in New Zealand as well, and I have interpreted for young men who got in trouble or because of the consent. And like I've been in the court, I've been in the police, and that was really, really sad thing to see, because these people did not understand the concept of consent itself. So other community, we have a responsibility, it's obligation as well to teach our young men, some adult men as well that who really necessarily don't know much about this. So the African this is big. That I'd like to comment.
Are you going to be coming tomorrow?
I'll do my best.
All right, you heard it here first on the Blackhouse.
I'll do my best to even pop in and say hello and see what's going on. I can't say the whole time, but look, we have to use every opportunity, every platform that we have, educating ourselves and our young men.
I think it's great, and you've already shown that it's possible to, be advocates within parliamentary processes. So our community has already started that. We've got someone in parliament, but then, we can bring changes to other big issues as well in our community that we can address. That's it. We love it. We've loved having you here. It's been great. And, rounding up, it's never enough time.
And also, please, if you're going to come to this community meeting tomorrow, 39 Webb Street, folks, and it starts at 2 p.m. 2 p.m.
New Zealand
not
timing.
2:30.
Not African time.
Not African time.
Can I just say, everywhere I go, people have been talking about the importance of having a voice, a platform. And the Africans I think we are the worst in terms of being organized, having that voice, having a platform, one umbrella organization that we express ourselves through. And I think this is going to be a good start.
Wellington Access Radio is live on 106.1 FM, right across Wellington region, and online via podcast. Just check our website, accessradio.org.nz. .nz.